Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission, as always, is pretty simple. We take these dense, essential sources, we pull them apart, and we give you the core insight.
The shortcut to being genuinely well-informed.
Exactly. And today, we are tackling a text that's, over 2,000 years old, but you still see it everywhere. From boardrooms to military strategy, Sun Tzu's The Art of War.
Yeah, and we're using the Lionel Giles 1910 translation, which doesn't pull any punches. The first line basically says, this is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin.
No pressure then.
None at all. But what's so striking is that for the world's oldest military book, its focus feels incredibly modern.
It does, because you expect it to be all about, charging into battle. But the very first insight, right in Chapter 1, Laying Plans, is that the real art of war is, it's the art of preparation.
It's all about what you do before the fighting starts. Sun Tzu demands you assess these 5 constant factors.
And these aren't just suggestions, are they? He frames them as absolutely critical.
Fatal to ignore. So first up is the moral law. And this is all about making sure your people, your team, your army are in complete accord with you, the leader.
So it's about shared mission, morale.
Pure loyalty and morale.
Yeah.
Then he moves to the environment, which he splits in 2. You have heaven.
Heaven, meaning what, the gods?
Not quite. It's more like the context you can't control. The times and seasons, day and night, cold and heat. The operational climate, you could say.
Okay, and the other part of the environment?
That's Earth. The literal ground beneath your feet. Distances, danger, security, open ground, narrow passes. This is your entire logistics puzzle.
Got it. So moral law, heaven, earth.
Yeah.
What are the last 2?
They're about execution.
Yeah.
Number 4 is the commander. The leader has to embody wisdom, sincerity, benevolence, courage, and strictness.
Wait, hold on a second. Wisdom, sincerity, benevolence, courage, strictness. That's a nearly impossible combination of traits. Why set the bar that high?
Because without it, everything else just crumbles. If the leader lacks sincerity, your moral law is gone. If they lack wisdom, method, and discipline, the 5th factor, it just dissolves into chaos.
And what's that 5th one? Method and discipline.
That's the nitty-gritty. The organization of the army, supply lines, controlling spending, all the project management stuff.
So really, the assessment isn't about counting spears and shields. It's all due diligence.
It's the ultimate pre-mortem. Sun Tzu says if you compare these 5 factors between you and your opponent, you can forecast who will win before a single arrow is fired. You win the war in the planning stage.
The calculation advantage.
Exactly. And that leads us straight to the absolute core philosophy of the whole book, efficiency.
And this is the part that I think surprises everyone. Efficiency for Sun Tzu means avoiding conflict entirely if you can.
That's the big aha moment. It's all about winning without fighting. Chapter 2, Waging War, is basically just a brutal cost-benefit analysis.
Brutal is the right word. He calculates that an army of 100,000 men costs, 1,000 ounces of silver.
1,000 ounces of silver per day.
Per day? I mean, just think about that burn rate.
It's completely unsustainable. He says it leads to dull weapons, your soldiers lose their fighting spirit, he calls it their ardor, and the state's resources just get completely exhausted.
He's so clear on this point. He says cleverness is never, ever associated with long delays.
And no country ever benefits from a prolonged war. So if you have to fight, the goal is simple. Wrap it up fast.
Which changes the whole economic game, right? You bring materials from home, but you have to forage on the enemy.
Yes, and he says 1 cartload of the enemy's provisions is worth 20 of your own. Not because it's better, but because it saves you the logistical nightmare of transport.
The goal has to be victory, not just dragging things out.
Exactly. Victory, not lengthy campaigns.
So if fighting is that expensive, that destructive, what's the actual ideal? What is supreme excellence?
Chapter 3 gives us the answer, and it's incredible. Supreme excellence is breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting.
Not just defeating them, but breaking their will to fight.
Right. The best thing you can do is take their country, their army, their people, whole and intact. He specifically says to shatter and destroy them is not so good.
That reframes everything. It's not about maximum violence, it's about minimum friction.
Precisely. And that idea creates his famous hierarchy of generalship.
Ah, yes, where the worst possible strategy is this. Laying siege to a walled city.
The absolute worst policy. The logistics are a nightmare. He says it takes 3 months just to build the basic equipment like rolling shields and another 3 months to build the attack mounts
6 months of prep.
before you even really start. And by the time you attack, you've probably lost a third of your men, and the city might still be standing. It's a guaranteed resource sink.
Okay, so that's the bottom of the barrel. What's a step up?
Attacking the enemy's army in the open field. A standard bloody battle. Better, but still not great.
Better than that.
Preventing the enemy's forces from joining up. Stop them before they can form a united front.
And the absolute best. The gold standard.
Balking the enemy's plans.
Stopping them before they even start.
Exactly. You win by disrupting their strategy before they can execute it. It's intellectual conquest. And the tool you use to achieve that is deception.
All warfare is based on deception. It's probably the most famous line from the book.
He repeats it constantly. When you're able to attack, you have to seem unable. When you're near, make them think you're far away.
But this isn't just simple trickery, is it?
Not at all. It's psychological warfare that has to be rooted in real strength. To simulate disorder, you need perfect discipline. To simulate fear, you need perfect courage.
You have to actually be strong enough to attack, but choose to look weak to bait the trap.
And that deception lets you control the position. Chapter 4 says the good fighter first puts themselves in a place where they cannot be defeated. That's defense.
And only then do you wait for the enemy to give you an opening.
That's your offense. So you see, security against defeat is in your own hands, but the opportunity to defeat the enemy is provided by the enemy himself.
The skillful fighter wins easily by conquering an enemy that's already defeated.
Through their own mistakes, yeah. And this links right into the idea of energy and momentum. He talks about the direct and the indirect methods.
The direct method being the obvious move, the frontal attack.
Right. It's what the enemy expects. It fixes their attention.
Yeah.
But the indirect method, that's the surprise, the flank maneuver, the feint. That's what secures the victory.
And they work together. You can't just use surprises.
They're inexhaustible, like musical notes or colors. They combine in endless ways. You use the direct to set up the indirect.
And all of this is to build up what he calls combined energy.
Yeah, this great momentum. He uses this amazing analogy of rolling logs or stones. A square stone on a slope might stop, but a round one.
A round one just goes irresistible force.
The commander's job is to create the conditions that make his army like that round stone on a steep mountain.
Which means you have to avoid the enemy's strength. And that brings us to that other famous analogy. Tactics are like water.
I love this one. Water runs away from high places and rushes to low places. In war, you avoid what is strong and you strike what is weak.
And water has no constant shape.
So in warfare, there can be no constant conditions. You have to adapt instantly. Your tactics must be fluid.
That puts an incredible burden on the general. They have to be a master of everything.
They do, which is why he lists those 5 dangerous faults a leader must avoid. And they are so relevant even today.
They really sound like, I don't know, corporate failure points. Number 1 is recklessness, which leads to destruction.
Then cowardice, which leads to capture. A hasty temper, you get provoked by insults.
Delicacy of honor, so you're too sensitive to shame. And the last one is interesting. Over-solicitude for your men.
Right, worrying so much about their comfort that you become hesitant and can't make tough decisions.
So you have to care for your soldiers like children, but also be able to enforce commands with iron discipline.
It's a balance. If you're just indulgent, they become spoiled and useless.
And that leader also has to be an expert in geography, the 9 varieties of ground.
It sounds technical, but it's really just a decision-making flowchart based on terrain.
Like, on dispersive ground, your own territory, you shouldn't fight.
Right, because your troops are close to home and might just scatter and go back to their farms. But on desperate ground, there's no retreat.
You have to fight immediately.
Because it's your only option. The geography dictates the strategy.
But beyond the ground, the general has to read the enemy's condition from afar. The signs he lists are they're incredible.
They're amazing, aren't they? Like dust rising in a high column means chariots are coming.
Low, wide dust is infantry.
If the soldiers are leaning on their spears, they're starving. If they're giving out too many rewards.
It means they're running out of resources and trying to buy loyalty.
Or if you hear a lot of noise from their camp at night, it means they're nervous.
These are all external signs, though. For the really deep knowledge, the foreknowledge, he says you need one ultimate tool.
Spies. Chapter 13 is all about spies. And he is crystal clear. This knowledge doesn't come from spirits or deduction. It comes from other men.
So he lists 5 kinds. Local, inward, converted, doomed, and surviving.
It's an entire intelligence system. And he stresses that you have to be liberal with rewards. Spying is expensive.
But there's one type of spy that's the absolute linchpin of the whole operation.
The converted spy. The enemy's own agent that you have turned.
Why is that one so critical?
Because, according to Sun Tzu, it's through the converted spy that you find your other spies. It's how you verify information, and it's how you feed false information back to the enemy using a doomed spy.
So everything, the entire intelligence network, hinges on turning one of their own against them?
The whole system depends on it. It just goes to show the key to victory isn't brute force, it's superior information.
So bringing it all together, we come back to that maxim everyone quotes. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles.
But there's that extra layer, he adds, right?
Yeah.
Complete victory requires knowing the enemy, yourself, and heaven and earth. You have to master the environment and the logistics, too.
It all comes down to prudence. The enlightened ruler, the good general, is cautious.
Yes. That final warning in chapter 12 is maybe the most important rule in the whole book. He says, "Move not unless you see an advantage. Use not your troops unless there is something to be gained. Fight not unless the position is critical."
Basically, don't act unless you absolutely have to and the conditions are right.
Fighting is the last resort.
So here's the thought for you, our listener. Sun Tzu's philosophy, it's really less about war and more about psychology and logistics. The highest form of generalship isn't winning the fight.
It's balking the enemy's plans.
So think about a conflict in your own life, maybe at work or in a negotiation. Something you've been assuming requires a direct, messy fight.
Could you win it instead with a single brilliant move that just disrupts their preparation, their thinking?
That's the shift, from a slugfest to a surgical strike. He says after the initial coyness of a maiden, you act with the rapidity of a running hare. Seize that opening.
And that's supreme excellence. Something to ponder this week.